So we are now at episode 6 of the Sweet Life of Missionary Partnership.
Yes! This has been good. And last episode, we actually went into name storming, creating a list of potential partners to connect with. And we're going to tell in this episode what actually we need to do with that list. But I wanted to mention we have a great tool, a great resource as you flesh this out and plug in the information. It's a name storming contact information sheet. It's one of the resources. There's a link in the description to this episode, and you can use that spreadsheet. It's a Google sheet, so you can copy and paste it into a new document for yourself. You can't fill it in straight off the website. Copy and paste it, and then you can plug in the person's name, their address, phone number, email, but then also put in a date for when I'm going to be contacting them. Write down how much am I going to ask them to partner.
And you should pray about that. We'll talk about that later.
You can also put in notes. There's a section for that to remember maybe their spouse's name if you don't know them well, their kids' names, just things you want to remember when showing, concern and care for someone when you reconnect.
Well, definitely you'd have the spouse's name with their spouse's contact information, but you may get the names of their kids or maybe where their job is, or if they had a prayer request, you'll be able to put that in there. And that way, when you contact them or when you pray for them, you'll know what to pray for.
Right. Exactly. So we are going to dive in, but I think you had a verse you wanted to share.
Yeah. I felt like the Lord led me to share with you Matthew 6:21. Which says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Yeah.
And so as people give of their treasure to partner with you in missions, their heart will be for missions. And so it's not about them giving to us, they're giving to God, but where their treasure goes, their heart goes. So therefore, for example, if someone attends a church and they don't give, they may be connected kind of. But if you're giving money to that church, in fact, if you're giving a lot of money to that church,
you have skin in the game, you're more connected.
You're more invested in that church and in that place.
Yes.
And so it's the same thing with missions, is we're inviting people to give to missions because it'll actually give them a heart for missions. I've seen a lot of people partner with us over the years who then later sent their teenagers on more missions trips where normally they probably wouldn't have. But because they were partnered with us, because they're giving to us and to God, they have a heart for missions and they make sure their kids are going on missions. Or maybe if they have an opportunity with their church, normally they might say no. But because they've been giving to missions, they have a heart for missions, they get involved more in missions.
And when they get reports from us, they start getting inspired like, oh, I was scared to go, but look what God is doing through these missionaries. It's a way of connecting them to the Great Commission and just God's heart.
Right. So where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So we're encouraging people to put their treasure into the Great Commission.
Yes.
And it's a better place to put your treasure, right?
Yes. Okay, so we're going to dive into some practicals. Yes. So now that you have got your list of names and you've got some of the addresses and contact information, we're going to talk about what to do initially. So we're going to describe something I like to call a vision letter.
Now, as we go into the vision letter, I do want to say this, though. Some of you may have been in missions for many years and you're listening to this, and you may have been communicating all along. This is not necessarily for you as much. We do want you to do this exercise because it's going to give you excellent content to use on your website, to use in different areas of writing. But this is mostly for someone who's just starting out in missions. They're new. They want to let everybody know what they're doing. And so this is a great way to sort of learn how to communicate in a short, concise, really effective way, what you're going to do, what you're going to say. You can put it on all different ways. So we start with a vision letter, so that way you can put words to the mission.
Yeah, exactly. So, or if you're reaching out to people you've never talked to about missions, you may have been a missionary for 20 years, but there's people you've never reached out to and they don't even know what you're doing.
Right.
You've had zero connection.
Sure.
This is an introductory letter to let them know what you're up to and reconnecting. Okay. And by the way, this is not a letter to ask for money.
No. Yes, this is not a newsletter. Because in the old days, you'd write a letter, you'd say what you're doing, and then at the end, ask for money, and then include a little envelope, and people would mail money back. And that was the way missions giving was done for 50 years.
Yeah,
but I have to tell you, starting about 10 years ago, it stopped working. So this is not that because it doesn't work. We're going to give you methods that do work.
Right. So the letter is to update them, and it is an ask, but it's an ask for a meeting, a get-together time, either in person or over a Zoom meeting. That's the purpose of the letter. But let me walk through, and by the way, in the link, again, you have a link in the description of this podcast to this letter so that you can take a look at it and form your own letter.
And then a little later on, we're going to also give you a text option for people who are kind of your best friends that you talk to all the time, because it would be awkward to ask for a meeting with somebody you're really close to.
Right, you can just
send them a letter. You can just text them, and we'll get into that next. But let's start with the vision letter, especially if you're new to missions and you're a new missionary and you really want to put your best foot forward, especially if you're a young person. You want to show, hey, I'm serious, and this is what I'm doing for a living.
Yes, and so it strikes a great balance between being a professional letter, meaning well-written, and a personal letter, meaning it's not a business form letter. It's really your heart that you want to share.
And one of the biggest mistakes people make when they do write a letter is they say, dear friends and family, and they send the same letter out to everyone.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Everything we talk about, and remember, we're talking about relationships, is personal.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you right now about the parts of this letter you're going to send out. First of all, one of the best things about a letter is a photo, because they can see your smiling face. It needs to be a professional, at least somebody with a good camera, right?
High pixels.
You're right. High resolution, not pixelated, good lighting, taken outdoors, and close up, all right, of your face. So they can see, hey, it's you.
And you're not doing that serious thing that's so popular right now. You're smiling.
Yeah, smiling. So have your photo on it. You can,
or if you're married, have with you and your spouse. And if you have kids, you and your spouse and your kids, but close up of the faces.
Right. Not from far away where you can see your feet to your head.
Yeah, I would say shoulders and head.
Yeah, close up as you can get.
Many family photos we had to get someone literally kind of standing over us with us all sitting in a huddle to where our faces are close together, and they would stand over us and take a shot, and literally they were a foot or 2 feet from our face.
Yeah.
And we're a family of 6.
And they look great.
But they look great, and everybody can be seen clearly.
So and you can get as creative as you want with this letter. You can just put a photo at the top. We've known people who've done some great graphic design and included photos of them working and doing missions and different things. But I'm going to give you the simple version, because some of you, the thought of graphic design gives you the hives. Like you don't know how to do it.
Fundraising is hard. But partnership is sweet.
Sweet. We've got to make it simple enough so everybody can do it.
Yeah.
So beyond just your photo at the top, maybe put a title on there, something that describes what this letter is about. For example, the sample letter says, Taking the Hope of the Gospel to the Nations. Ours, as our personal couple letter, might say, Galloway's on mission. It's simple.
Yeah. Or also, there's going to be 2 versions of this letter, the Christian version and the non-Christian version. And we'll get into that later and how you would tweak the wording for that.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So after you've got a photo and a title at the top, you want an introduction. And then you're going to have these are very short paragraphs, by the way, a background paragraph, like how you got to YWAM or your missions agency and what you're doing and why. And then the big picture of your organization, so they understand everything YWAM is about, or your organization. And then specifically, the next paragraph is your role in missions, what you're doing. And then the very conclusion in the paragraph is asking for a meeting, which is the purpose of this letter.
So number 1 is an intro. Number 2 is the background, where you've been.
And I'm going to give you a sample of one too.
Number 3 is the big picture of your organization, so they know who you work with. And then number 4, right, is your role. And number 5 is asking for the meeting. So let's go ahead and read this to you.
And let me point out too, One of the most important things on this paper is this letter is you signing it personally and writing a PS at the end.
Right.
Okay.
And I learned that when I used to work for a crisis pregnancy center in the San Francisco Bay Area in the early 1990s. And that is where I learned how to do this kind of letter. And the stats show that if you write literally in a black pen or a blue pen, the blue pen gets higher response than the black pen.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, just weird things like that. Or when you choose a stamp for mailing this, if you choose just like a flag stamp or the normal stamp for your country versus a fun stamp, and your ink on the outside, handwritten, if you use a color ink, the response is much higher.
Don't put a label down or print it out on a printer.
No, because when something gets something handwritten in the mail, it's like, oh, this is something fun.
Special.
This is exciting. Oh, I'm happy to open this. Instead of being like, what's this?
Yeah.
So those are important elements. Our son even goes the extra step and does like a seal with some wax.
Yeah, it's very cool.
He does that for his thank you letters.
It's very
But
cool.
anyway, any personal touch you can give is really important.
I'm glad you said that. And another personal touch I'm going to highly suggest is putting it in the mail, meaning snail mail. It is going to have a higher impact when they pull it out of the mailbox, look at it, see your penmanship, your handwriting with their name, and be like, oh, I just got something from Bob.
Right. Now, the letter itself is fine to be typed. In fact, it's more professional to be
Printed.
typed.
Yeah.
But your PS, which will tell you what to write later for some ideas, can be handwritten. And the reason for this is to show people that you're serious, you're professional, and this is what you do for a living now. For example, don't feel bad about this because every nonprofit organization in the world is sending letters out with information of what they're doing and things. They usually do an ask in the letter, but because we're doing more of a friend-raising relationship approach, we're actually asking for the meeting. So let's go ahead and read through this letter.
Yeah, and let me say a caveat to that mail idea.
Oh.
If you're in the middle of Papua New Guinea and you're from maybe Great Britain and you know it's going to take 2 months for your letter to get there, it is acceptable to email that letter. Is it as effective? No, but you can't wait 2 months or have it get lost in the mail if there's some reason it's just too far away.
Right. And it's still good to do that every once in a while to send out something in the mail. But yeah, you might even be we were in Samoa, and a lot of the people on staff didn't even have access to paper, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just no paper to be had out there in the jungle.
Yeah.
So, but I have to say that one of our Samoan guys that we trained, he put together the best digital newsletter I have ever seen.
Yeah. He put together a vision letter that it was just straight to the point. It showed his heart, his passion for missions, and
great pictures, great design.
So good.
It was way beyond anything I've ever seen anybody else do. And here he is in the jungle, like slaughtering pigs and eating pigs from the pig farm, but he did an amazing job. So there's a lot of people in a lot of situations, and you can make this work no matter where you are.
So let's get into the letter. The introduction might be, Dear John, long time no see. I wanted to reconnect and give an update on what I've been doing with my life. I am a full-time missionary with an organization called Youth with the Mission, parentheses, YWAM, and am based in the Pacific Islands, but our impact is global.
Okay, so that was the intro. And I want to point out, if you're a YWAMer, always use Youth with a Mission, and then you can use YWAM in parentheses. We never want to use initials like DTS, YWAM, SBS. Like that is, you might as well just be saying, hey, I'm with BFKR, and we just did a RTA. And so if you want to be a part of the blah, blah, like it's like you might as well be speaking in Pig Latin, a language that doesn't really exist.
It's fake.
It's fake. At they, it a, ounce, I clay, this, is they. It sounds like this because I'm fluent in Pig Latin, but it sounds like that. So we don't want to use abbreviations.
Yeah. Now, the next paragraph, you're giving a little background, how you ended up as a missionary. This sample says, back when I was growing up, I had my ups and downs with my faith. In 2017, I had a breakthrough in my walk with God and fully committed myself to Jesus. I got involved volunteering in my church, and it was great. But I sensed that God was leading me to do more. I had a fire in my belly to take the gospel to the nations. I attended an incredible training program called a discipleship training school with YWAM that was a transformational experience. After praying, I knew that I was supposed to join the staff and give my life to help others know Jesus.
So this second paragraph is his background of this person. And this is not Juan, this is not me. This is just a fictional person. And it's just an example of how to communicate in a way that's personal, kind, to the point, and kind of gets to the heart.
Tell them your personal story as well. Yeah, that's important.
Now, next paragraph.
The next paragraph is the big picture in YWAM.
Or whatever organization that you work with.
Right. So it says, did you know that YWAM is one of the world's largest missions organizations with 1,800 campuses in over 180 countries? This movement is both international and interdenominational. YWAM's primary focuses are training, evangelism, mercy ministry. Their motto is to know God and make him known.
So in this next paragraph here, it's really highlighting something that I think is important for most people. People who don't know the organization are like, what is this organization? Well, the fact that we said it's international and interdenominational is very key, because you may be talking to people who are Presbyterian or Catholic or Baptist or charismatic or whatever, and like, what is YWAM? What do they believe will be their first thought. So being able to communicate that it's interdenominational will help put their mind at ease.
Also, that it's not just an American organization, it's international. So you're giving the scope of how many campuses, how many countries, and by associating yourself with a great organization like YWAM, you're basically raising your level of legitimacy. Oh, they're part of a big team that's making a big difference in the world.
Yeah, the world's largest short-term missionary organization with 1,800 missions campuses. And again, we usually use the word campus instead of base to help people know that it's not a military movement.
Yeah, it's not a military base or a cult.
Yeah,
it's a campus.
It's part of a university of the nations, right? And nowadays, churches are using this campus lingo as well. They'll have multiple campuses to their church. So it's a common church term now.
All right, the next paragraph, you've told about YWAM. Now you're going to talk about your specific role. So it says, my role at YWAM is in the area of staffing the Fire and Fragrance Discipleship Training School.
Or whatever you're leading.
Right. It is one of the biggest schools on our campus. I will be helping to facilitate classes and disciple youth, young people, one-on-one. After the classroom lecture phase, I will be leading a team from the school to do missionary work in the country of Cambodia.
Or wherever you're going.
Right. So it's a little specific.
You're saying your role. And maybe your role is I work in the office of the campus as the assistant of the director of the discipleship training school. What that means is I help facilitate, 15, 10, 20, 1,000, however many students to go into the world to preach the gospel.
Right. If you have an administrative role,
right,
you can tell the impact of that.
So you don't just tell your administrative role, you tell what you're impacting, right? If you're working in the kitchen, you say, my role is in the kitchen, cooking for these missionaries who are going out to 10 different nations every year to preach the gospel. So you're saying what you do to support the people who are going out. So make sure you include that. It's not just, I'm in the kitchen all day, cooking pasta, and it tastes really good. No, what's the kingdom impact that you're having?
You could say, I'm facilitating many students and young people who I'm discipling through the training they're receiving while learning how to cook and actually sustaining this community of faith so that we can change the world.
Right. So there's lots of good verbiage for that, no matter what you do. And I find in YWAM specifically, people really underplay their value and underplay their role under the guise of humility. But I find it's more self-loathing and not valuing ourselves the way the Lord values us. Because if you look in Scripture, God values you.
Every role is vital.
Yes. And so we need to see ourselves the way the Lord sees us and communicate that with confidence when you describe your role. Last paragraph.
Okay, so we're going to bring it home with this letter. The last paragraph is asking for a meeting. And this sample says, it is my intention to continue following God's call on my life, serving as a full-time missionary. I can't do it alone, and I don't want to try. I need a team of partners who will stand with me so that the good news of Jesus can be shared throughout the nations. I know that together we can change many lives. If it's okay with you, I would like to set up a Zoom meeting or a coffee in person to catch up on your life and tell you more about my work to see how you might like to get involved.
Okay, I want to highlight a few things in this because there's so many gold nuggets in here. It's saying, I need a team of partners, which you do. And so that's really good. I also love how you say, I know that together we can change many lives. What you're saying is, I'm not going to go change lives. You're saying together we can change lives. So you're making them part of the team. And then the final ask, I love how you do this. If it's okay with you, I'd like to set up a Zoom meeting with you to catch up on your life. So it's that you're showing interest in them, who they are, and what they're doing, right? And then tell you more about my work. And then I love how you do this. You don't say to see if you want to support me, to see if you want to be a partner. It's to see how you might like to get involved. Someone might get involved not with finances. They might get involved with prayer. They might get involved by designing your website.
Fixing your car.
They might get involved by lots of different ways they might get involved, right? They might introduce you to somebody who's going to be a donor. Yeah. So you're not asking for finances or money. You're asking for a meeting to get involved. And the reason why we do Zoom is why, Juan?
Well, if you're already out on the mission field or at a campus that's somewhere else, not in your own country, it's really hard to get together in person. I would say if you can get together in person, face-to-face, that is the best way. However, we live sometimes in the South Pacific, and it's so far away that we can't meet face-to-face with people. And so we set up Zoom meetings, and it's super effective. In fact, we actually built our entire partnership team through meetings we had over Zoom.
Right. All of our partners, and we have over 60 monthly partners and probably about 20 or 30 one-time givers a year, because that's what it takes for us to live on mission and what God's called us to do, traveling globally. We're in, 15 countries this year, 25 different missions campuses. So we're on the go a lot. So there's a little more expense in what we do. And so that's what it takes for us.
Now, I think one of the key words in this letter, and I think we say it several times, is partners. A lot of times people ask for supporters. Will you support me? And we would prefer to use the term partnership because it's really better a description of what we're about. It's a team. You play an important part in giving and sending. I play an important part in receiving and going. And so we don't want to ask people to support us because parents support their children, right? But we're not asking that. We have an equal level partnership.
Yes, I love that. That's so good. And I love, again, how you might want to get involved. I think that's a great way to communicate it. And then at the end of his letter, it says to know God and make him known, comma, and then you signed it Michael Scott as a joke.
Yeah, well.
He's from a TV show in America called The Office.
Yeah.
But then there's the PS, which is handwritten. And this is an idea of something you could do in the PS.
PS, looking forward to talking soon! ! I will text you a possible date and time for us to meet over Zoom. Thanks.
All right. So your PS is looking forward to talking to them, and then that you're going to be texting them a date. And then that way, when you do text them, they got your letter and they're not surprised. Also, let me just, little side note, on this letter, you want to have your mailing address on the bottom, your email address, your missionary website if you have it, that has a click and give option, preferably, and your cell phone number. So that way you have all your contact info right there on the letter.
It's super important because they might read this and be like so inspired. They're like, oh, heck, I want to give now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to mail a check to their address or I'm going to email them right away. They want to respond immediately, but they need your contact info.
Right. But you do not want to put your Venmo in there, nothing to give. We're not talking about giving in this letter at all. It's just a contact point.
Yeah.
To get that face-to-face. Because the truth is, you want an eye-to-eye, face-to-face meeting. And that's what we want to say. Let me compare it to this. If you are leading someone to Jesus to become a Christian, usually it's face-to-face, eye-to-eye. It's not usually via text, pray this prayer with me.
Right.
It's not usually like a blast out, whoever wants to get saved, pray this prayer on Facebook. No, it's you actually talk with someone, you hear about their story, you hear about how they're doing, you pray for them, you connect to them, and you lead them to the Lord. It's the same way with leading people into missionary partnership or to be a part of missions. You hear how they are, you hear what their heart is, you talk to them, you pray for them, and then you invite them into a relationship, a partner relationship with missions for the gospel. And so you have to do it face to face and eye to eye. And I can't tell you how everybody avoids this like crazy.
Because they're scared, they're nervous.
Yeah, but God has not given you the spirit of fear. He's giving you the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. So suck it up and get face to face.
You can do this. And, the reason I think it's important to point out in that last paragraph, we mention, a team of partners, and we'd like to talk about how you'd like to get involved, is we're not trying to surprise them with an ask to join our team when we talk to them in person or do Zoom. Like, oh, I didn't know it involved money, we need financial partners. So this gives them an idea without being explicit.
Right. And again, Juan has done fundraising for many years, and me as well. I was the director of development for Crisis Pregnancy Center. Mm-hmm. So these are some of the methods we used in the past. But let me just do a caveat as we move on to the next section.
Yeah.
And that is our Asian friends and family. When I talk about face-to-face and eye-to-eye, for some people in the Asian culture, that would be dishonoring to look at an elder or a leader in the eye or in the face, or to do an ask or any kind of thing that would be directly. So there's different methods to do that as well. And I want you to know we haven't forgotten about you.
Yes.
And we're going to go into that soon.
Yes, we're training you with best practices, but you have to adapt it to your culture. And by adapt it, I mean, don't do anything. Give up because you're chicken.
Yeah, that doesn't mean adapt to your culture. What it means is take what we're giving you, because again, we're talking to people from every country in the world, every culture in the world. So we're giving you a basic template and then use it, but tweak it slightly to be something that would be appropriate. Not out of fear, though, because I could look at that letter and I could say, oh, hey, in Texas, we got to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. You can't talk like that, whatever. But I'm taking a step of faith and I'm stretching a little bit. Even in America, using these words make me nervous. They make everybody nervous. So if you feel nervous, just know everyone feels nervous. Okay. It's like anything you do for the first time. The first time you preach, you're going to feel nervous. The first time you babysit a child in diapers, you're going to be nervous. Like all of these things are new. But the nervousness doesn't mean it's not godly or it's not right. And again, people are doing asks in every culture for every kind of nonprofit. In fact, I just saw a new one. They were raising money to save the sharks.
That's true.
Save the sharks. I was like, save the sharks, kill the sharks. What are you talking about?
No, the sharks are okay, but I don't know what they need protection from. But people raise money for lots of things.
And that's another thing. Right. If you, it might be a good idea to go ahead and give a donation in your country to a local charity and see the kind of verbiage they use. Yeah. Because especially if it's a larger charity that's really doing well, you can see what kind of thank you do they send? What kind of words do they send in their communication pieces? And you can piggyback that kind of language into your letters and your communication on your website that's appropriate for your culture. But if you are communicating with someone in Europe or somebody in an English-speaking country, this kind of verbiage really does work.
Yeah. Now, many people have asked us, Juan and Mombo, what about if I'm sending a letter or meeting with someone who's not a believer?
Oh, right.
They're a pre-Christian. They don't know the Lord yet. Should I even talk to them? And the answer is yes, of course. If they know you, there's some kind of relationship, I'd say yes. But do you need to change your verbiage to communicate clearly? Yes.
Yes.
So let me give you an idea of how to go about that. Okay. And with integrity, right? Because we're not trying to trick people. We're trying to just communicate well. So rather than talk about things they don't understand, like discipleship and evangelism, we talk about some of these social service type of things that we do in our work. For example, one of the big things with Youth with a Mission is mercy ministry. I don't say it that way. I'd say relief work, like an NGO. Oh, okay. What kind of work? Well, in some campuses, we help orphans, or we help end human trafficking.
Or help the homeless, or help the youth in the community and leadership skills. Like there's all kinds of things that we are doing, and that those are the things you highlight with someone who is not yet a believer.
And for example, we have YWAM ships. We have these huge ships going around the world to bring medical care to people who don't get it on isolated islands, and sometimes even give back their sight. And it's amazing. And maybe if there's an organization they could relate to, like the Peace Corps, for example, in America, we have that. It's a volunteer organization.
Or if you're from another country, they'll understand the word NGO or nonprofit, or there might be a word that's different in your country, and use the verbiage that they would understand, because you always want to communicate with integrity. You want to tell the truth, but you want to also use what the Bible says is to become all things to all people.
Yeah.
So if I'm talking to somebody in Wall Street in Manhattan, I may talk professionally, dress professionally, have my hair and makeup done, and Juan may wear a tie and a jacket. I know, never happens. But if he's in Wall Street in New York City talking to a business executive, he wants to become all things, all people. So he dresses similarly to them, speaks in their way of talking to help communicate the gospel and the mission to them. Then if he goes down the elevator, sits on the curb with a homeless man to minister, he takes off his jacket, takes off his tie, maybe his shirt if he has a t-shirt on underneath, pulls up his leg pant and sits on the side and eats a hot dog with them and chats and talks in a totally different way with that person. We want to communicate in a way that makes sense to unbelievers by talking in unbeliever language, which is not using Christianese.
Yeah.
Christianese is like, don't use a word like prayer burn. What are some other Christian words?
Yeah, any of that prophetic language.
Yeah, prophesying. It's not that you're hiding the gospel. It's just you don't want to say words they don't understand.
Yeah. On the other hand, you do want to be clear, like Youth with a Mission is a Christian organization.
Right. You can say it's a Christian organization or biblically based. These are all things you can use. But you want to stress more the parts of the mission that they would understand.
For example, almost everyone in the world values education as a positive thing.
Oh, that's true.
Well, one of our key things in YWAM is training. Now, we might say it is discipleship when we say training, but training is a great word.
Yeah.
We're actually, and this is something I share with many donors or potential partners, I say, did you know YWAM, 2/3 of our movement is in the developing world? Wow. That means we're raising up young people to be leaders in nations that have very little opportunity for education, but we're giving them incredible leadership skills so they can change their community and actually even go to other countries.
Right. We're training teachers to go and teach in developing countries. And so the words relief work and training, maybe instead of education, instead of discipleship, not using discipleship training school. Usually I just use they do a short school.
Oh yeah, maybe a leadership training program.
Yeah. And then they go out, instead of saying missions, they go out to do relief work.
Right.
So just tweaking the words you're using, and they're still accurate.
Yes.
But it's in their wheelhouse of understanding. Let's move on.
Yeah. So after you finish name storming, your new homework assignment is to draft a vision letter. You can use the sample we gave you, but make it your own. Make it sound like it's from you. Okay. So we want to share have another friend come and share a true story from YWAMers around the globe.
And as you listen to this, I want you to listen to see what lies and what truths you hear in their story. This is a special woman named Shirley from Zimbabwe.
Hi, my name is Shirley. I am from Zimbabwe. I've been with YWAM for over 20 years. I did my DTS in 1998. I am currently serving with Frontier Missions in Harare, Zimbabwe. Part of my role with YWAM Frontier Missions is to train and to teach missionaries across Africa. I have served in various countries, Zimbabwe, my own country, Zambia, South Africa, and Sweden. The idea of building a partnership team in my country was a difficult one. People did not understand what it is to partner or to send a missionary. I'll ask people to join my partnership and they'll tell me, why don't you get a job and you can properly support yourself? One of the pastors from my church told me the era of missions was over and we did not need missions anymore. This caused for me to have a lot of hang-ups. I began to lose confidence, felt I was begging people, and felt really ashamed. I started using newsletters as a way to fundraise. And in my newsletters, I would hint about my need and ask people to pray and to give. And this did not work. And of course, people were not inspired to give. God started speaking to me about moving to Sweden, one of the most expensive countries in Europe. Here, I couldn't even just support myself in Africa. While I was in Sweden, one of the YWAM leaders ran a training on partnership building. And through this training, I started to see God's heart, that I was worthy to be supported, and that what He had called me was worthy to invite people to come alongside. Beginning to have confidence, I also learned how to communicate my vision well. And this brought a lot of confidence in how I would ask people to join my partnership team. And people started saying yes. After some years, I moved back to Zimbabwe. And while I was in Zimbabwe, I started really sensing a burden to say I wanted people from my own country as well to be involved in what I was doing and to be involved in missions. And God just challenged me and asked me, how would they come alongside and partner with you if they did not understand what you were doing? It gave me an idea to bring along a group of ladies in a small group, and we started studying His Word together. We would look at what His Word says about missions, about His nations, and God's heart and desire to reach all nations. And as we went through the Word, God really started revealing Himself to these ladies. We started praying for different unreached people groups. We started praying for different work happening across the world. And we would also pray about what I will be doing. And more, I begin to see an openness with the ladies offering different skills, whether it be doing my hair or having a dress made. Sometimes some ladies will actually just ask, do you need toiletries? And they'll take stuff from their house and give to me as I went on mission trips. Those that couldn't give financially would offer that. And those that would give financially would give financially. God has been so faithful, and today I am fully funded. One of the ladies from the group that would meet also started feeling God calling her into missions. And she has started her own group as well, and that's starting to build our own partnership team. The pastor that I mentioned before, who told me that the era of missions is over, is also joined my partnership team. I would like to challenge you to follow God's call to missions on your life. Do not let your culture, your family, or the lack of your church understanding missions hinder you into what God has for you. God's plan works in every culture and works in every country, and nothing can stop it. I am a living example of that. So trust God, walk in faith, and step out in obedience. Bless you.
Okay. I love Shirley. And man, she is an incredible woman of God from Africa, from Zimbabwe. And she had to overcome great cultural barriers in her own church to become a missionary. And usually you wouldn't think you'd have to do that.
I know. Can you imagine that her pastor said the era of missions is over?
It's so crazy.
It's over. Oh, it's all over? Wow. And more people need to hear the gospel, I guess.
And her story was great because she did what most people do. She mailed out a bunch of newsletters asking people for money. It didn't work.
Because she was hinting about her needs. And I think that's the big mistake we all make is we hint. We hint.
That's not good communication.
It's not good communication.
Yeah. And, because of the challenges in her culture, she got innovative. And you might have to as well. And by her innovation, She gathered a small group of women. She began to disciple them, teach them about missions so that they could understand it, because they had no education or training in their home church to know what it was all about.
It's kind of like how we've said many times here, we need to disciple our potential partners in missions to help them understand. Because almost everyone we meet are like, you don't get paid? What? We have to be able to explain it in a short, simple, biblical, kind way so we can bring them into understanding of how it works.
Yeah, but I love how she did not let these challenges stop her. She actually, not only did she get this team of partners and become fully funded, but one of her team is now creating their own team of partners to go into missions. So in other words, she's multiplying herself.
Yes.
And even her pastor is now on board and partnering with her so she can travel all over Africa and even Europe to spread the gospel of Jesus.
And I thought it was also nice that a lot of people who couldn't give financially were able to give to her in other ways, with toiletries, making her a dress.
Yeah.
People want to be involved, and they'll do what it is that they can do. So I think that's such an amazing thing, especially when someone from a developing country is going to a country that's more expensive.
Right.
Way more expensive. It's just such a step of faith. But to have your partners be from your home country, wow, what a blessing, right?
So good. Yeah, so we need to do an excellent job with our potential partners or our current partners by taking good care of them, by communicating well, by being professional, by just doing a good job responding if they ever reach out to you. You know, YWAMers have unfortunately been known as being really poor administratively. And
well, almost the worst. The reputation is the reputation goes before us, and we have to prove people wrong now, because there's a reputation with YWAM, with people sending money, never giving a thank you, people being treated like ATM money machines or like banks, not like people.
Right.
People not being appreciated, people not getting reports. I hear it over and over again. And so we really have to train the next generation of YWAM missionaries how to do an excellent job. And let me tell you this, there's one main statement that you say all the time, Juan. And this statement, I think, is the key that opens the door for most large donor givers.
Yeah.
And so I want you to tell them this statement, and I want them to remember it. What is it?
Okay, get ready. People don't give to needs. They give to vision.
Say it again slowly.
People don't give to needs. They give to vision. So, sure, you could tell someone, oh, my car's broken down and I really need money to go on a mission trip and it's so much. It's all needy, instead of, oh, I have a vision to change this country, to help these young people, to make a difference in the lives of the poor. That's vision. People get excited about that. Like, really? Wow, you're going to go to this other country and you don't even speak the language? They're going to get inspired to join your team.
Even if it's, I'm called to serve at this missions base so that we can continue to send out students to change the world, that God's called me to serve here as support missionary. Don't say support staff, as support of the missionaries, right? Because we don't want to use the word staff because that implies that you're paid.
Right. But partners, this is a little secret that I want you to know. I didn't believe it was true, but I found out that they don't really give primarily to your ministry. In other words, what you do with your missions organization. They're actually giving to you. They don't really understand your ministry and all of it because they don't live in your world. They don't see, they're not that much in touch with it. And we'll do the best we can to communicate it, but really they're focused on you. And so they're not just giving to orphans. They're not just giving to maybe what you're involved in helping the sick or the poor, but they believe in you. And so it's a person-to-person partnership and connection. And so that's okay. That's a good thing because it's a heart-to-heart. And that's where a team is built solidly. It's heart-to-heart.
So giving to you and your vision. And by the way, when sometimes people say no, it may just be that they don't have the same vision you have. Maybe they have a heart for something else, and that's okay. Sure. It's not personal. They might have a heart for orphans, and you have a heart for the elderly. I don't know, or vice versa. So it's okay. But yeah, giving them the vision is so important. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is something that all missionaries that I've met are so guilty of, and I was guilty of this in our early years. It's this: stop projecting your financial picture on others.
What do you mean by that?
So many missionaries try to live on as little as humanly possible.
Yeah, that's true.
As a result, we can have kind of a skewed idea of how others live.
Mm-hmm.
So we may think that asking for a larger amount is outrageous because that's way more than we would ever imagine giving to somebody. But maybe for them, it's not outrageous at all.
Right.
So, for example, let's say you're going to ask someone to partner with you for $100 a month.
What?
That may sound like a fortune to you, $100 a month.
How could I ask for that much?
Right, I don't want to ask for more than $20 a month. Well, hello, do you live in 1970? $20 a month was 1970.
Well, and I'll tell you the truth, Mombo. When we first became a missionary family, and I was asking people to join our team, I asked them for $20 or $30 a month. And it was because I didn't think it was appropriate to ask for more than that, because I couldn't give more than that if someone asked me. But I didn't realize I was projecting our financial reality as people in ministry to people who had jobs that paid 4 times as much.
Or 10 times.
And they'd love to give actually more.
Right. So some people will spend $100 on a dinner at a restaurant.
Right.
Like maybe you would never spend $100, but maybe they spend $100 with their
Every week.
family out every week. It's no big deal.
Right.
Okay. Maybe they spend $100 on a purse, and to them, that's no big deal. Maybe they go to a professional sporting event or a concert, and they spend $200-$300,
Right.
or more if
And
they
then-
bring a group.
and
And so
then-
$100 is like, oh, that's nothing.
Right. It's nothing. It's like that's totally within their wheelhouse of what they're able to do.
Right. So I want you to keep this in mind. If someone makes, let's say, 50, now I have to use dollars because I can only choose one kind of money, but I want you to use the kind of money, just transfer in your head for wherever you are in the world, but I'm going to use dollars. If someone makes $50,000 a year, they are tithing.
If they're a believer.
Yeah. If they're a believer, they are hopefully tithing $5,000 a year, which is 10%, right? And then let's say someone makes $100,000 a year. They're tithing $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have a married couple, there's 2 of them making $50,000 a year. That's $100,000. They're tithing $10,000 a year. Okay, so they might include you in their tithing or their giving. Some people give all of their tithes to the church, so 10%, which is great. I really love that. I believe in it. Some people, after COVID, to be honest, never went back to church. So there's
sadly, so they stopped giving.
I mean, stats say there's half as many people going to church that were going pre-COVID almost. Feels like it sometimes if you're a pastor.
Yeah, well, some lost half, some closed.
Other people watch online.
Right.
And so some people have continued to give, but a lot of people, if you're a pastor today, I've talked to a lot of pastor friends and their giving is way down. This is a horrible thing. It's sad, but the truth is there are people who are Christian out there, even if they're not going to church anymore.
Or they're watching online.
Or they're watching online.
They this is an opportunity and encouragement for them to sow into the kingdom of God.
Start giving again. And so let's say, for example, a family is making $100,000 a year with the 2 incomes. Maybe the man makes $40,000, the woman makes $60,000, whatever. And let's just say they're making $100,000 and they're tithing $10,000. If they're tithing $10,000 and they're not attending church anymore, maybe that gives them $10,000 to give if they still want to give. Or maybe they decide in their life, and this is between them and the Lord, they want to give half to church and half to organizations like World Vision or you as a missionary. That's $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
And so that's the giving capacity of someone who is making $100,000 a year.
And Steve Shadrach from Support Raising Solutions, who wrote The God Ask, he would suggest that if you're going to ask someone to invest and partner with you in missions, and they have kind of a white collar job, professional job, to not ask for less than $100 a month. Or if it's a 2-income family, right? The husband and wife both work, there's more giving capacity there, and it's appropriate to ask for $100 a month because you're investing a lot of time, intentionality in the preparation of the meeting, the presentation, the follow-up. And so if we're just asking for $20 a person, we end up with not enough to survive on a lot of times. So I'm stoking your faith, people. I'm saying
We are. And
stretch.
What's coming up in our next episode is we're going to actually talk to you about how do you choose how much to give?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know, what to ask? Because we do usually ask for a dollar amount. And the reason why is people are not mind readers. If I have someone asking me, I don't know what their need is.
Right.
I don't know what they're asking for.
Yeah.
What are you asking for? What do you need? What's going on? So if they give me a number or a number range, then I know how I can fit into that. So that is something that we're going to go into in our next episode is how to do that, as well as we're going to talk to our Asian friends. We're going to start out with a letter from a wonderful Korean woman, and she's going to talk about a different way that she was able to get people to partner with her that was appropriate in her culture of Asia.
Yeah, so good. So we can't wait to share that stuff with you on the next episode.
See you then.